What was your first impression if you put on the gender equality lens?
I know I could read the figures, I could see the data. There's a lot of challenges, especially for women's economic and political empowerment. The parities are very clear. Pakistan is not doing very well on the gender index. But I also know that this is a country that produced a woman prime minister.
What drives your passion for this specific area of gender equality?
My daughter, I want the best for her, and I want her to live in a world where her gender does not determine her future.
Who do you listen to?
Her name is Praveen.
Abda Parveen.
Praveen, I love the lady. She's really incredible.
She's amazing. The father is collecting money to send the boy to get higher education. For a woman, is collecting that money to get her married.
This is the paradox about men, not all men, some men. The paradox on one hand, we love our mothers, we love our sisters, we love our daughters, but we discriminate against women. It's just a weird paradox that we have.
Why is there so much resistance against having gender equality in a society like ours?
One is power dynamics. And I give myself an example. When I was growing up in the Kenyan coast, like many families, my father had a period where he couldn't pay for school fees for many reasons. And it was my sister who was first one not to go to school. So today, I have benefited personally from gender inequality.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Nabila Malik, your host, and we are back with the second season of Gender Talks. And today, as the opening of our second season, we have a very pleasant surprise for all of you. We have the UN resident coordinator in Pakistan, Mr. Mohammed Yahya, with us. And we're going to talk to him, candid interview, and get him to tell us all about himself. So, welcome to our show, Yahya. And for a start, we want to hear in your words, who is Yahya and how is he feeling in Pakistan?
Great. First, thank you very much for the honor and privilege to start your season 2. So I'm very happy to be here. My name is Mohammed Yahya. I'm the UN Resident Humanitarian Coordinator. I've been in Pakistan since February 2nd. And inshallah, it's normally a 4-year term. And hopefully I'll be here until 2028. A bit about myself. I've been in the UN for a long time. I just arrived before I came to Pakistan. I was head of UNDP in Nigeria for 4 years and a half. Before that, I was in Ethiopia as head of policy for UNDP Africa. Before that, New York. And I was here in the region as well. I was in Afghanistan 2008-9 on the work front. Personal front, I have my wife and my daughter here. They both moved here together. We moved together. My daughter is at school. She's very young. So Pakistan will be home, inshallah, for the next few years as I do my time here. In terms of nationality, it's always difficult because I have few passports, depending on how I feel. I was born in what is Somalia today, but grew up in Kenya, the Kenyan coast. And then moved to the UK when I was 15, 16 years old. So I carry all those different legacies.
All sounds good. So interesting that your wife and daughter are here. That means you came and you liked Pakistan. Did you? Am I assuming right?
Absolutely, absolutely. First, we have a habit. I don't want to move anywhere where I can't take my family, because family is extremely important to me. And I know for Pakistanis, family is an important institution for Pakistanis. So for me, it's the same. I wanted to be in a place where my family will be happy and the education system works. So I found Pakistan and Islamabad specifically to be that place. I really like Islamabad. It's green. I love that there's not a lot of traffic jams. I've lived in cities where you can't move for hours. So it's really nice to be here. Although I'm told if I go to Karachi, which I'm going next week, inshallah, I will find out the real traffic and traffic jams.
Right. These are just the minor things that we deal with on a daily basis. But have you been around other than Islamabad? Did you go to the mountainside?
Yes, I do a lot of hiking. So I've been to KP for hiking. I crossed from Islamabad. I also go to the Magala, obviously. Islamabad is blessed with nature. I went to Quetta when the heat waves were high, a lot of heat waves in Islamabad and Lahore. And going to Quetta and sitting outside at night and coolness of Quetta, I found it to be extremely beautiful. And I've been to Lahore, the cultural city, I'm told, is the cultural heartland of Pakistan, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
And the food. Don't forget the food.
Food is it's all nice, and I really enjoy different cuisines the country has. I am told Pakistan is one of those places where you get fed well, but you may carry excess weight.
That is true. That is true if you like that kind of food. Right. So, before I get into more details about how you spend your day, I would go straight into our gender aspect of the podcast. What did you observe when you came here? Was this your first time in Pakistan when you came in February, or do you have any? This is the first. What was your first impression if you put on the gender equality lens or inequality?
So I always remind people, you work for the UN, with the UN, we are made differently because UN staff, our natural instincts is to be hopeful and always believe that tomorrow will be better than today. So I landed in Pakistan very full of hope. I know I could read the figures, I could see the data. There's a lot of challenges, especially for women's economic and political empowerment. The parities are very clear. Pakistan is not doing very well on the gender index. But I also know that this is a country that produced a woman prime minister.
Yes.
It's a country that has produced incredible, strong women. So, yes, challenges are immense. Cultural components makes it much more complex. But I feel a country that has produced and keeps on producing strong, articulate, powerful women, the ingredients for equality does exist.
There's hope, like
Absolutely,
you say.
absolutely.
And we are in the business of hope.
Absolutely.
I heard you say that somewhere. So I'm
Absolutely.
quoting you. So that's all good. What drives your passion for this specific area of gender equality?
So I grew up with a lot of women around me. My mother has been an incredible inspiration for my life. She's always encouraged me, gave me confidence when I was down, always told me that I can achieve what I want. I have incredible sisters who are inspiring in many ways. But also I have a daughter, and my daughter, I want the best for her, and I want her to live in a world where her gender does not determine her future. Merely her gender helps her to be who she wants to be, and there shouldn't be any form of restriction for her to achieve her dreams. So all those, from my mother to my sisters to my own daughter, those are inspirations. But the major reason is also one of self-interest. I don't think you can talk about development and prosperity if half of your population is not involved. I always tell people, show me a country that women are not empowered. I will show you a country that has high level of poverty, high level of insecurity, high level of hopelessness. And I've seen it in many countries that I've worked in. So gender equality is also a development question. It's a prosperity question. It's about the health of a nation. And I know Pakistan is like cricket a lot. The analogy one uses all the time is if you have half of your cricket team out, how do you expect to win in a globally competitive world? And that's why I'm very passionate about gender equality.
True. Why do you think there is so much resistance? Because when you said it like that, it sounds like it's very commonsensical. It's logical. It's what everybody should believe in. Everybody should work. Why is there so much resistance against having gender equality in a society like ours, for example? What is your
I don't
observation?
know Pakistan that well. I've been here for 7 months, well, but I can tell you globally what I've
Yeah,
seen in other countries. I've worked in several countries. One is power dynamics. Uh, and I give myself an example. When I was growing up in the Kenyan coast, like many families, my father had a period where he couldn't pay for school fees for many reasons. And it was my sister who was first one not to go to school. So today, I have benefited personally from gender inequality. If you think about the education I got, I wasn't the first one to be taken out of school. So the power dynamic and an individual benefit from discrimination is one of the drivers of inequality. People feel that if I can have less competition in the workplace, I have less competition in political space, I have less competition in economic space, and I've kept half of the population out. So there's a self-interest part. But this thing is normally quoted and sold as culture, right? I always tell people, if you go 200 years ago, 300 years, do we have the same culture we had then? Of course not. Culture changes, and it changes to the environment that we live in. The environment we live in, Pakistan needs to be competitive. It needs to have all its people working and all its women involved in its politics. So those are the kind of things that I want to encourage Pakistan policymakers and Pakistan individuals, that gender equality is in your self-interest. It's not, there's a human rights component, right? Nobody should be, uh, essentially, nobody should be, women should not be persuading men to give them rights. No, they came with those rights. They were given to them by the Almighty. But in addition is to convince men who are resisting equality, restricting space, to tell them it's in your self-interest. And that is, I think, the dialogue we need to have.
right. So, the way you describe it, it looks like at the personal level, if people buy into this gender equality and the power of it bringing development, then at a personal level, they might lose the short term privileges that they are getting out of it. So, human nature, it will not give up any privileges. How do you suggest we convince people who feel like they will be at a disadvantage if gender equality was a norm?
So there is the part of convincing those who have those seats of authority and power to, for the interest of the country's future. Absolutely. So one of the work that, for example, the UN does here with UN Women, the engagement, the storytelling, the shining light on women's contribution to this country's economic and political life. All those advocacy aspect is a key important part. But there are also others. Change doesn't always come. Those who have captured the space do not give it up easily, as you've
Yeah.
eloquently put it. But also, this is a country that defeated colonialism. You have defeated a lot of internal struggles, and society that always perfects itself, always gets better. I can't imagine the powerful women that I have come across in this country will allow this condition to go on forever. So I'm very confident. As I said, I'm naturally hopeful, but I'm also confident that Pakistani women and Pakistani men who want to see a more equal society will win at the end. Because if they don't win, Pakistan will lose. And I think that is the most important message.
Plus, there is also, I don't know whether you agree with it or not, that the changes, for example, the economic changes, which are the reality, are themselves creating a different reality from the kind of reality that our people were used to, and forcing equality on some people. So things will change. If they allow it to happen, it will happen quickly, and things will. What are the biggest challenges in Pakistan that you feel you have up till now noticed or come across when it comes to these goals of women empowerment and gender? If I was to
Mm.
ask you to name the top three challenges.
For me, the number one challenge is girls' education and
Okay.
education overall.
Okay.
Also, boys' education, because education liberates you,
The
education
mind.
moderates you, education makes you imagine a bigger and a more prosperous future for everybody. It was the work of Mahbubul Haq, who Pakistani economist, finance minister, and the person who inspired the Human Development Index, who taught us that education and opportunity is a real freedom, is enlarging freedoms. If you're educated, you have more options. So an educated girl will not get married as a child or at 13 years old. An educated girl will contribute economically to her family. An educated girl will change the perception of those who don't see women in a positive light. So education for me is the number one challenge. This is why I'm very happy that the current Prime Minister declared an education emergency. So that is the number one liberator. And that's an area that directly links to women and women's empowerment. So for us, at the UN, we really want to support Pakistan in removing those 26 million children out of school who are most are girls. So that is one area of focus. The other areas are just opportunity, jobs. You have a huge pool of young people in this country, boys and girls. Keeping them here, make sure that they have opportunity at home is an important. But I think finding opportunity for this huge asset you have, girls and boys, young, energetic, I think that is another priority that the country needs to prioritize. There are many other challenges. We have issues of malnutrition. We have issues of climate issues around flooding. So there's a lot of challenges. But if I had to pick few, I think young people, education, were the ones I will prioritize.
That's interesting. So, in a way, with the Prime Minister declaring the emergency, education emergency and all, would you say that we are on the right track?
Not yet,
Not yet.
but I think the commitment and the risk the Prime Minister took in declaring that you have an emergency and the push to do something about it in itself is a good start. The next level is, so what do we do? How do we protect girls' schools? How do we find the right teachers who want to go to rural areas? So those are the kind of next level challenges. But I've seen a lot of already investment in Islamabad, for example, in schools. I met the Secretary for Education. There's a lot of things going on, but this is something that cannot be addressed overnight because this challenge has been accumulating over decades. And that's where I think
You are in the role as a resident coordinator. What role do you see of UN as a whole family in this gender equality goal? Are we going to just support the government or we have our own?
so no, there's a global agenda commitment that Pakistan has made to gender equality at the global level. There's a Security Council resolutions, I think 1325. There's a lot of legal and frameworks that have been agreed globally that the UN has a responsibility to help countries meet those commitments. The second part of our job really is to work with everybody from civil society to government, to provincial government, to really make the case of investing in women, creating conducive environment for girls' education. We've seen recently there were attacks on girls' schools, for example, ensuring that there's a cultural shift on girls' education and not using culture or other proclamation to hoodwink people into continuing inequalities and not giving girls opportunity. But the major thing is what kind of future does this country want? And having spoken to many Pakistanis, every Pakistani wants a prosperous, peaceful Pakistan. And that can never happen without women not being an integral part of that transformation.
Brilliant. And I'm sure with you in the driving seat, we will get there. That is our role, and we do it as much as we can. It's just that now, again, people in Pakistan always convince themselves that there are bigger challenges than dealing with the women issues or making that part of the development sector. Most important these days is the humanitarian challenge that's staring us in the. We are a country with limited resources as such, so to say. Suddenly, when these things happen, this shift, there is a major shift, and the first casualty of that shift is the gender equality goals and objective. What do you have to say to that?
I think is a misalignment, to be honest. You can't cure uh, a chronic issue you may be facing. So if you use the human body as an example, uh, let's say you have a bacterial infection and you cure it by taking painkillers.
Yeah, yeah,
It's the same issue around women's equality. The fundamental problem is not having 50% of your population to find to find solution to the challenges you face. Another thing I tell people, of course, you have to respond to humanitarian needs and other challenges you face, but the role of policymakers, leaders, is to do more than one thing at a time.
yeah.
So yes, we deal with the challenges we face. There's an economic challenge the country is facing. Absolutely. There's a debt issue that the country is dealing. Absolutely. And the government is trying to address all those things. But also you have to address the systematic foundational issues. I'm a strong. Every country I go, I try to learn about its history, its founding fathers and mothers, and to understand what country they envisaged. And if you read Pakistan founding father, they envisaged a country that has women at the center of the decision making, women at the center of defining the kind of Pakistan he wanted it to be. So it's in your founding foundation. Equality and opportunity for women has always been part of the story of Pakistan.
So you said a couple of times that you met very powerful women in Pakistan. Would you like to share what you mean by that, and what do these powerful women in Pakistan look like? Explain them.
They look like a very strong, powerful Pakistani women. People I work with,
Yeah.
some of them are standing here. They will tell you how confident and directive they are in the kind of how they work and support the UN system. I have met people in government. I met people in political leaders. I've met architects. I've met designers. Uh, across Pakistan, you run into incredibly talented women. And I just say, if these women can emerge in spite of the restrictions the country has on women's equality, imagine those who are not getting those opportunities because they cannot overcome those restrictions. So imagine how many more leaders, how many more architects, how many more musicians, how many more artists can emerge if every child is given the opportunity to achieve their potential.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is what is so frustrating, because you see the potential, and the couple who shine, you know that the ones who didn't get the opportunity probably had greater potential to shine more. So we're doing a bit, some words of advice for the men who have to play their role, if we have to get closer to or get the women to do their role in the development of this country, or bringing prosperity to this country. Like you said, it's impossible without women. So what is the role of men? I think it's
They
good
have
if they
a
hear it from you.
no, they have an important role,
Yeah.
and the first role is not to fear equality.
That's an interesting concept. Let me stop you there. What do you mean fear equality?
No,
What does it mean?
fear equality means that you feel you will lose if there is opportunity for everybody, and it's not only men in general, but anybody. who has had a monopoly in a sector always fears if there's a competition or there's others who are going to emerge, and so not fearing change or fearing equality is is a psychological process for some has to have to go, but not all men are like that. You have a lot of men around you who want that but there are those who fear change, and it's not a Pakistani problem; it's a global problem. First is that the change is good. Second is it's just self-interest. You cannot have a country reach its potential if half of its population is on the sidelines. So it's self-interest for men to have equality and opportunity for everybody. In the short term, it may impact you. I'm not going to tell you it won't. Equality in the short term means you don't have a monopoly in getting the big jobs. Somebody else may get it who actually may be better than you. They just happen to be a woman, and then that kind of risks and fears do exist. We've seen it in the UN. Our Secretary General, when he came, he said he wanted 50% of the resident coordinators to be women. That was an edict, and they did achieve it. But I know many people are not happy because many men didn't get a job because a woman who suddenly became in the midst and competed and won this job. So there is that immediate loss that one may feel. But in the long run, I think everybody wins with equality. So one, don't fear equality.
Equality, okay.
That's one part. Second, realizing that is a self-interest issue. The next genius may be born in a rural KP, a girl, and if she doesn't have the opportunity to solve the problems in Pakistan, is an opportunity lost. So we need to give everybody an opportunity to come and help us solve the problem of the country. And that is the other part of that on the equality aspect that we don't normally discuss. So there's many things, but I always use the same example. Show me a country that is rich, prosperous, peaceful, that has women on the sidelines. It just doesn't exist.
Okay, it's interesting the way you said that one should not fear equality. I like that concept. Tell me how you spend your day. Just run me through your schedule if you don't mind. And I want the nice details, not that you go to office and do work and come back.
Talking about equality, I should tell you. So my wife and I share 50-50 on who puts our daughter to bed. So we rotate. So, and if I miss a night, I have to pay it back. So she,
2 nights.
she keeps record and writes. So I like to first. Let me start with the evening. Even if I have a reception, I try to go home first, see my daughter before she goes to bed, or put her to bed, read for her. Those things are extremely important to me. In terms of work, really, there are people who control me, and some of them are here. I just follow what they tell me. You have to go do a podcast, so I've go do a podcast. But my job really is to keep the UN family focused on supporting this country's ambition. Keep the UN neutral, independent, but accountable. Accountable because we are paid salaries to support Pakistan. We're not tourists. So we need to keep all of us accountable. And one area of accountability is on gender equality.
Yeah.
How do we help this country overcome those challenges? So there's that part. There's the part of UN efficiency drive. I don't want to bore your listeners. I don't want, if I start talking about UN efficiency drive, even those who had insomnia will start sleeping. So I won't take you there. But there's a lot of looking at the development challenges, looking at the security challenges, looking at how the UN can support the government and the people. And I always want to remind listeners, the UN is here because Pakistan asked us to be here.
Yeah.
And the UN is here to support the ambition of this country. And always reminding ourselves, we're privileged. We have 4,000 staff, 330 foreigners out of that. Majority of our staff are Pakistani. We have 89 nationalities from all over the world, waking up every morning, trying to contribute to uh, Pakistan. This morning, I had a meeting about polio, for example. Their colleagues in places in the border areas of Pakistan, in rural communities, helping fight polio. I have colleagues are waking up every morning in rural Sindh, helping with flood recovery. We have colleagues in UN Women every day looking at how they can help uh, empower women. So I'm very proud what the UN is doing, but everything we're doing is in line with the vision and the direction that Pakistan has set for itself.
True. Obviously, I work for UN Women, and I know that this is what our goal and objective are. So let me take you back to your childhood, because I know people must be very curious that this man sitting across me at the table at the top position in the UN Pakistan, what was he like as a child? Was this your ambition? You know, we all dream, and they say women are not allowed to dream as much, but men are. And you went to school. But was this your dream, or you wanted to become a painter or something else?
I no initially it wasn't my dream. The UN is not normally something that people think unless you're born into a diplomatic family. I was not. I grew up in a small Kenyan town called Malindi, is just north of Mombasa. Those who know East Africa, I had a very happy childhood, running around on the beach, swimming. Um, it was a very good childhood, but I didn't have my dreams were different. I wanted to be a singer. Then I realized quickly that I'm really bad at it.
Are
So
you
it's
sure
self.
you're bad at it?
I'm very
You
bad.
must have tried.
I tell you, people paid me to stop singing. It was that bad.
Oh, we share that. That's in common.
So I tell people I made money from the music industry by being paid to stop singing. So I'm
To stop
terrible.
singing.
Then I
Okay.
realized I have no fiber of any tiny fiber on the artistic side, but I enjoyed art and music and we in the work we're doing here. This is some of the things I'm trying to push to bring because the artists and musicians are the ones who help you dream. They make you they get you out of your current and tell you tomorrow there is something beautiful around the corner. And Pakistan has incredible artists. So this is another. I'm really getting into Sufi music here. It's incredible. Because I grew up, I'm a Sufi myself. I grew up in Sufi culture in the Kenyan coast.
Who do you listen to?
Here,
Yeah.
but Praveen, her name is Praveen.
Abda Parveen.
Yeah, I love the lady. She's
Yeah,
really
she's
incredible.
amazing.
I listen to all the Sufi music
Okay.
you have in Pakistan, and I'm really getting into it. So my childhood was quite interesting. Then I moved to the UK. So I went to study at 15, 16. I was in the UK. There is when I started thinking, okay, what do I do when I finish my studies? Where do I want to go? My first instinct, like every young man and woman, is I need to make a lot of money. So I went to the city to work in the finance side. After 1 month, I realized it's not for me. I quit. Then I thought public service. I want to do public service, and that's when I got into the path to the UN and the work around the UN.
Good. So you had sisters when you were growing up. How many?
I have two sisters. Yeah, and both of them younger than me. One is a chef. She runs a restaurant, and she's a very good cook, and she's a good chef. But I'm biased, obviously. But and then my other sister works in finance.
So what kind of relationship you had with them? Were you playing with them as a child, or there was a separation over there?
No, no. I grew up in a very. I said my mother. No, there was no gender.
Matriarchal
Yeah,
society.
no. Outside, my society is very patriarchal. But at our home, we were better, but not equal, I must say. I mean, I told you the story of
Yeah,
school
the
fees.
education. Yeah.
Education, there was always a bias to educate the boys if the financial restraint affected it. But they went to school, but they were not invested in, I can say, as much as I was invested in. And this tells you about, I always tell my male colleagues, if you look at your own life and your career, somewhere in that journey, you have benefited from inequality,
Yeah.
especially against women. you see, if you look at your own, how your opportunities, if your father, your mother wants to send somebody to top schools in the UK or the US or anywhere else, they will always choose the boy. So the boy then feels, oh my God, look, I'm so educated, I must be brilliant. Well, the foundation of your brilliance started with inequality. Your sister was discriminated against. So these things were. I said I have the job I have today partly because I benefited from inequality. So I have to be very conscious of that. But it's also it's us. Then we talk about men. It's our job, and I am fully committed to see that it doesn't happen to other girls. And
In Pakistan, there was one thing that used to really annoy me. There are ads where the father is collecting money to send the boy to get higher education. And then for a woman, is collecting that money to get her married. So the messaging in the society is what, creates these divides and makes it okay for people to think like that. That was very interesting to hear from your childhood, because that gives you a window of what has shaped the man. Now with your daughter, you say you have to go home no matter what to put her in bed and read her story maybe. What is your vision that the world that we leave behind, how are we going to make sure that it's a better world?
but this is the paradox about men, not all men, some men. The paradox on one hand, we love our mothers,
Yeah.
we love our sisters, we love our daughters, but we discriminate against women. It's just a weird paradox that we have. And we separate our relationship with our mothers
Yeah.
from our sisters and how we behave in public life and the decisions we make in public life. I try to be consistent, not perfect, but I have a daughter. I want my daughter to be judged by her capabilities, her character, not her gender. So, and that is a uphill battle that all of us at the UN are fighting. But more importantly, many women are fighting, and many women leaders are fighting.
That's true. And this is the fight that we don't have a choice. And with the champions like you by our side, we will get somewhere sooner than people think. So as we go to the wrap up, would you like to record a message for our audience, especially on the topic that we are at, or anything that you feel like?
So the first thing is to thank them for spending their 35 minutes listening to me. So it's a privilege to be able to talk to you, and thank you and women for the opportunity to to, to contribute. Well, as I said, I started by saying that the UN is in the job of hope. We are Our DNA is to be hopeful, but not to be naive. To be hopeful. So I'm going to be here for 4 or 5 years, inshallah. God willing, that they can count on my full commitment to do whatever needs to be done on behalf of the UN to support amazing Pakistani women who are pushing the glass ceiling to make sure that equality and opportunity for all becomes a reality. So that is the message I want to pass. And also listen and learn. All the women who are listening to this, all the men who want gender equality, please come to us. We have UN Women as our doorkeepers on this issue to tell us what we can do better to help you in your own struggles, from your home to the school to public life and everywhere else where we interact as humans.
Thank you very much, and really grateful for the time and your candid chat with us. Ladies and gentlemen, like Yaya said, you can write to us. As you know, the initial reason for having this podcast was to interact with you directly, to ask you, to know from you. And now we have our resident coordinator making that offer. Connect with us. Let us know, because we are here to support the dreams of the Pakistanis. Share those with us. We are in the business, like my resident coordinator said, we are in the business of hope. And that hope can turn into a beautiful reality, but we have to work together for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.